Now, in the previous two topics, we explored how the ego will go into the environment in search of our happiness, how it does this through instant gratification. Through this instant gratification, it fills our voids to numb the pain, to give us that instant pleasure. And again, there's nothing wrong with having the pleasures in life. The question is, why do we want those pleasures? Because as it does this, what it can do, it attaches other things to our identity, the cars we drive, the houses we live in, the friends we have. And what can happen over time is that our identity can be weighed down with all these external factors, when really, what is our identity? It's what's within, not without. You will recall that if we let our ego choose our happiness in the external world, we're effectively putting our happiness in others' hands, and whatever we rely on out there for our happiness may not be able to keep us happy for as long as we would like. One of the reasons I gave for this is because we get used to stuff, which I promised we would explore in more detail. So, in this topic, I would like to explore why we get it wrong when it comes to looking to the environment for our happiness. The first reason is that our initial thoughts about what will make us happy are often themselves wrong. There is a tendency to overestimate the emotional impact of any future event, both in terms of intensity and duration. Dan Gilbert, an American psychologist and author of Stumbling on Happiness, referred to it as miswanting, namely the act of being mistaken about what and how much you will like something in the future. For example, our ego will convince us through our thinking that we will be much more happier for a longer period of time if we get that awesome stuff. And after we get that awesome stuff, well, we find that we are not as happy as we thought we would be, and it's for a shorter period of time. Now, as much as we can be mistaken and overestimate how happy something or an event will make us in the future, we also overestimate the anguish or pain we will go through should an unfortunate event happen, such as a divorce or financial loss. So there is some good news. It also doesn't turn out as bad as we think it will be. So why does this happen? Well, this leads to the second reason why we get it wrong. We get used to stuff. In psychology, they call it perceptual adaptation or hedonic adaptation. This is the process of becoming accustomed to a positive or negative stimulus such that the emotional effects of that external stimulus are reduced in force over time. This is part of our ego operating system that helps us survive through adaptation to our environment. In the example with Mike, a year and a half after he has bought that car to boost his self-worth, he has adapted to having the car and no longer has the dopamine surge of reward he initially had. The emotional effects of driving that car every day has become less and less as a result of this hedonic adaptation. So we get used to that job, that salary increase, that perfect partner that made us so happy for a period of time. And as we adapt to these circumstances that brought us the initial surge of happiness, the effects of this pleasure seeking wears off, and we are left with more of this miswanting, the void still there beckoning us to fill them with more pleasure. We see this with lottery winners. They have this incredible win, and years later there are stories of some of these lottery winners who've lost everything, including their relationships, after gambling their money away and spending needlessly on things to continually boost this continued pleasure-seeking drive within them. When asked how the lottery affected them, they say they wish they had never won the money. This is another example of hedonic adaptation. We get used to stuff, including how much money we have, and consequently, it always leaves us wanting more money. Conversely, again, we also adapt to unpleasant experiences in our life. We may think we will not be able to get through that divorce or that salary cut, but somehow we adapt and we get through these challenges better than what we initially thought we would. Now, the third reason why we get it wrong is because we do not realize that we adapt. We forget that we get used to that last car we bought, that job we wanted so badly, which is now mundane and boring, the salary increase we received, which now doesn't cover all the expenses. This is referred to as immune neglect, the unawareness of our psychological immune system where we have a tendency to adapt. Again, this applies to worst case scenarios. We can fear a worst case scenario in the future and forget that we have managed to get through tough times in the past because of this immune neglect. We can also focus on one possible worst case scenario that might happen, because of our conservative genes around uncertainty. This is called focalism, where we keep thinking about that one worst case scenario that can happen, and we forget that there are many other things that might also happen which could mitigate this one worst case scenario. Positive psychology research has identified certain activities that enhance our well-being and sense of happiness, which are not affected by hedonic adaptation. So we will be exploring these in the next module under conscious living practices. Now, in the next topic, we will be exploring why we make comparisons. This is one of those automatic default settings within our ego operating system. We'll also explore how this making comparisons can impact on our happiness, our well-being, as well as the choices we make in terms of what we think will make us happy. So I look forward to seeing you then. But as we finish off this topic, I leave you with a wonderful quote by Dan Gilbert. Wonderful things are especially wonderful the first time they happen, but their wonderfulness wanes with repetition. So I will see you in the next topic, and until then, take care and stay aware.